In this video, I will discuss pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension is a condition that is characterized by elevation in the mean pulmonary artery pressure of more than 20 millimeters of Hg at rest. So, if mean pulmonary artery pressure is more than 20 millimeters of Hg at rest, then it is known as pulmonary hypertension. This is measured by right heart catheterization. So, what are the different groups of pulmonary hypertension? Pulmonary hypertension is divided into 5 groups. Group 1 is pulmonary arterial hypertension. Any condition that leads to the structural changes in the pulmonary artery leading to the development of the pulmonary arterial hypertension. These include idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension, then heritable pulmonary arterial hypertension, then drug or toxin induced pulmonary arterial hypertension. If it is associated with connective tissue diseases like systemic sclerosis, then it is also categorized into group 1 pulmonary arterial hypertension. Then congenital heart diseases leading to pulmonary hypertension like ventricular septal defect leading to pulmonary arterial hypertension, then portal hypertension leading to pulmonary arterial hypertension, HIV infection, schistosomiasis, etc. These all conditions lead to remodeling and narrowing of the pulmonary arterioles, and this leads to pulmonary arterial hypertension. This is group 1. So these conditions are categorized into group 1 of pulmonary arterial hypertension. Then next thing is group 2. Group 2 pulmonary hypertension due to left heart disease. It is most common cause of the pulmonary hypertension. For example, left ventricular systolic or diastolic dysfunction leading to pulmonary hypertension. Then mitral valve disease like mitral stenosis. Then aortic valve disease like aortic stenosis or regurgitation. Then congenital or acquired left heart inflow or outflow obstruction, etc. These all conditions can lead to group 2 pulmonary hypertension. Mechanism is elevation of the left atrial pressure. When there is elevation in the left atrial pressure, it increases the backward flow of the blood to pulmonary circulation, and in this way there is pulmonary remodeling leading to the development of pulmonary hypertension. Then group 3 pulmonary hypertension due to lung diseases and or hypoxia. For example, patients have COPD or patients have interstitial lung disease and fibrosis. If patients have obstructive sleep apnea, if patients have obesity hypoventilation syndrome, also known as Pickwickian syndrome, or if the patient has chronic high altitude exposure. These all conditions lead to chronic hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction, and this chronic hypoxic pulmonary vasoconstriction leads to pulmonary hypertension. Then we have group 4 pulmonary hypertension due to pulmonary artery obstruction. For example, if the patient has chronic thromboembolism to the pulmonary vasculature leading to pulmonary artery hypertension because of pulmonary artery obstruction. Other pulmonary artery obstructions, for example, tumors or arthritis, can also lead to this group 4 pulmonary hypertension. There is mechanical obstruction of the pulmonary vessels, which leads to remodeling of the pulmonary vessels and leading to pulmonary hypertension. Then group 5 pulmonary hypertension with unclear or multifactorial mechanisms. These are miscellaneous causes that can lead to pulmonary hypertension. For example, sickle cell anemia, myeloproliferative disorders, and chronic hemolytic anemia. Then systemic disorders like sarcoidosis, vasculitis, etc. Then metabolic disorders like Gaucher disease. Then chronic kidney disease, especially if the patient is on hemodialysis, and other multifactorial causes can also be grouped into group 5. What are the investigations that are required for the diagnosis of pulmonary hypertension? Initially, we do ECG. ECG shows right axis deviation, right ventricular hypertrophy, and right atrial enlargement is manifested as tall P wave. Tall P wave on the ECG. This tall P wave is more than 2.5 small boxes. More than 2.5 small boxes on ECG. It is known as P pulmonale. It shows right atrial enlargement. Then ECG may show right bundle branch block pattern. Then next investigation is chest X-ray. Chest X-ray may show enlarged central pulmonary arteries. Also, it may show right ventricular enlargement. It is also helpful in diagnosing certain lung diseases, for example, COPD and interstitial lung diseases, which can lead to pulmonary hypertension. Then pulse oximetry and arterial blood gas analysis is useful for the hypoxia-induced pulmonary hypertension. Then echocardiography. Echocardiography is the first line screening test or best screening test for pulmonary hypertension. It estimates the pulmonary artery systolic pressure, and also it measures the tricuspid regurgitation velocity, and also tells that there is right ventricular hypertrophy because of pulmonary hypertension. Then blood tests like CBC, renal function and electrolytes like CKD can lead to miscellaneous CKD can lead to group 5 pulmonary hypertension. Then liver function tests, then BNP or anti-pro-BNP. These are the tests that show severity and also helpful in prognosis of the patients with pulmonary hypertension. Then HIV serology, and then ANA for vasculitis, and rheumatoid factor for the connective tissue disorders. These also are helpful in categorizing the pulmonary hypertension. Now, imaging. CT pulmonary angiography can be done that shows chronic thromboembolic disease. If the patient has chronic thromboembolism leading to pulmonary embolism, then it can tell us that because of these chronic thromboembolism, the patient has developed pulmonary hypertension. Then HRCT can also tell us about the interstitial lung disease and also emphysema. Then V by Q scan is preferred screening test for the diagnosis of chronic pulmonary thromboembolism. Then right heart catheterization. Right heart catheterization is the gold standard for the diagnosis of pulmonary hypertension. It confirms the diagnosis by measuring the mean pulmonary artery pressure. If it is more than 20 millimeters of Hg, then this is pulmonary hypertension. It also measures pulmonary artery wedge pressure and pulmonary vascular resistance. And it also tells us about cardiac output and cardiac index. But the most important thing is it measures mean pulmonary artery pressure, which is if more than 20 millimeters of Hg at rest, then it is pulmonary hypertension. Now, how will you manage this patient? You should treat the underlying cause. For example, if the patient has COPD and has developed pulmonary hypertension, you should treat the COPD by giving oxygen supplementation. If the patient is hypoxemic, then give oxygen therapy if SpO2 is less than 90 millimeters, if the SpO2 is less than 90%, or if the patient has hypoxemia. Diuretics are given if the patient has developed right heart failure and edema. Salt and fluid restriction if the patient is in volume overload because of right heart failure. And then vaccination for influenza and pneumococcus. Avoid pregnancy and severe pulmonary hypertension because of higher risk of mortality, and avoid high altitude and smoking. So these are the general measures for the patients who have pulmonary hypertension. Then we have some supportive therapy, like if the patient has right heart failure, we give diuretics like furosemide plus minus spironolactone. We give oxygen if the patient is hypoxemic and due to hypoxemia has developed pulmonary hypertension. Then anticoagulation if the patient has thromboembolic phenomenon, and dioxin is given for the right heart failure with atrial fibrillation. What is the treatment of pulmonary hypertension? Actually, we give pulmonary arterial hypertension. We give treatment for pulmonary arterial hypertension for group 1, because this is the group that responds to the therapy for pulmonary hypertension. Other groups, group 2, 3, 4 and 5, only respond to the therapy for the underlying disorder. So for group 1, we give treatment. First one is endothelin receptor antagonists. These include bosentan, ambrisentan, macitentan. Then phosphodiesterase type 5 inhibitors are the second group. These are sildenafil, tadalafil, and then soluble guanylate cyclase stimulator also belongs to this group. This is riosigouate. Then prostacyclin pathway agonists. These include epoprostenol, treprostinil, iloprost, selexipag. Then calcium channel blockers, but these are only given to the patients with a positive acute vasoreactivity test. For example, if the patient has pulmonary hypertension and we do cardiac catheterization, and after giving nitric oxide, patient has given response to the nitric oxide, then only we use calcium channel blockers in that patient. For example, amlodipine, nifedipine, diltiazem, etc. If the patient has group 1 pulmonary arterial hypertension, then the targeted PAH therapy is this therapy. As I have told you, 4 groups. These 4 groups are given for group 1 pulmonary arterial hypertension. These groups are endothelin receptor antagonist, bosentan, ambrisentan, macitentan, PDE5 inhibitors, sildenafil, tadalafil, And prostacyclin pathway agonists, for example, epoprostenol, treprostinil, iloprost, and then calcium channel blockers, amlodipine, nifedipine, deltiazem. These are given for group 1 pulmonary arterial hypertension. For group 2, if the patient has left heart disease, treat that heart disease. For example, if the patient has heart failure, treat that heart failure. If the patient has mitral stenosis, then replace the valve. For group 3 pulmonary hypertension, if the patient has COPD, give oxygen therapy. For group 4 pulmonary hypertension, give lifelong anticoagulation. And for group 5 pulmonary hypertension, treat the underlying disorder, for example, CKD. Do dialysis in that patient. So this is all about pulmonary hypertension.